What's up guys, Doomwake here. Welcome back to another Modern video on the channel. As always, before we continue, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. Let me know in the comment section below what you thought of the video. We got some more Innistrad cards. Can we get some hype? So here's another card that I was, if you saw the top 10 cards from that I personally think of for Modern from Innistrad, here's another card on that list, Faithful Mending. So this particular list, shout out to Spider Space, by the way, Spider Space on Twitter. He does a podcast with, I think it's Fran, F. Paulus, and Evid Avaros. So, Mishra's Babble podcast, I think that's where they talked about this deck. I don't know who the originator of the deck is, I believe it was Spider, but shout out to Spider Space, by the way, for this deck list. So, Faithful Mending is a new card from Innistrad Midnight Hunt, and it reads, Blue-White Instant. You gain 2 life, draw 2 cards, discard 2 cards. Flashback, Blue-White 1. So, really powerful in a Reanimator strategy that is trying to put Archon of Cruelty into the graveyard to cast Persist, targeting Archon of Cruelty from the graveyard. So, the really nice thing about this deck list is, prior to other Reanimator strategies that have come before it, you now have this kind of like control angle with Faithful Mending, Counterspell, and Teferi. You can play this control kind of game. So because of access to Mending and it being an instant is the really key part of this card. You can, pass on turn 2, hold up Counterspell. If they don't play into your Counterspell, you just get to cast Faithful Mending and churn through your deck. Eventually get to a spot where you can find Archon Persist and just kind of go from there. You can even turn 4 Persistent Archon and protect it with Counterspell, which previous reanimation strategies haven't been able to do before. And then the other new card from Innistrad is Consider. This is a card, I will say, I did not have in my top 10. There's a reason. I don't think it's as good as people think it is. However, in this particular strategy, I do think it is, considerably better than Opt, pun intended. But yeah, I just think this card is, I think for what it does, it might be a little bit overrated because there aren't that many decks that want to play Opt anyways, like control decks, and is it really that much of an upgrade in control? But anyways, it's really good in this deck because, again, we're trying to put Archon of Cruelty into the graveyard, so you can imagine just having more access to that. You can even just go turn 1 Consider. If you spike an Archon on top, you just put it into your graveyard, and then you can cast Persist. So it is really good in this deck. So we are going to be playing 4 copies of that. The other really nice thing about this deck is this might be the best Teferi Time Raveler deck I've ever played, because we did play a little bit with this on stream a couple days ago. Now, obviously, Teferi is a powerful card. I understand that. But what I meant by this is the best Teferi deck I've played is that you get to use all parts of the Buffalo with Teferi. A lot of people, the blue-white control decks might not have as many sorceries that they're casting on their opponent's turn outside of Supreme Verdict, but you can imagine casting Thoughtseize on your opponent's draw step, casting Persist on an Archon in your opponent's combat step. You can do some really filthy things with Teferi, and that's why I think this is... You get a lot of juice out of Teferi with the plus ability, whereas previous Teferi decks may not have had that much utility out of the plus. And then, obviously, we have Unmarked Grave, which can search for either an Archon of Cruelty to put it into the graveyard directly, or we can, if we already have a creature in our graveyard, we can search for Unburial Rites, which is a card that you can flashback from your graveyard for 4 mana to return a creature from your graveyard to the battlefield. So it's, it sort of serves dual purpose there. You can search for an Archon if you have Persist, and then you can search for Reanimation if you already have the Archon. And then obviously rounding out the deck, Prismatic Ending, just, really great card, especially when you're playing 3 colors. We even have access to the 4th color. I don't know that the 4th color is necessary, and I have had some awkward draws involving having a tap land on turn 1 because you do have 8 cards that you really want to play on turn 1, considering Thoughtseize. So the ETB tap land can be really awkward sometimes, but, there is definitely some merit to playing the 4th color for Prismatic Ending because there are matchups where that comes up in. And then as far as the mana base is concerned, again, the Zagoth Triumph, we get a bunch of fetch lands, bunch of shock lands, some basics. And then we have 2 River of Tears and 1 Mystic Gate as our sort of like flex lands, if you will. River of Tears, not a card that has seen a ton of love over the past couple of years, but it is kind of nice in this deck because you can play it on turn 1, right? It's a blue-black dual land. You can cast Thoughtseize off of it because, if you've played a land, it taps for black, so you can turn 1 Thoughtseize. You can't turn 1 Consider off of it, but you can turn 1 Thoughtseize, and you can also then play your second land, which could be an island or any blue source, and then hold up Counterspell on your opponent's turn. So I understand that Dark Slick Shores also accomplishes that. The problem with Dark Slick Shores, this deck is 4 mana, like turn 4, is a crucial point for this deck because we have a lot of 2 mana plays. So turn 4 is Unmarked Grave plus Persist, Persist plus Counterspell, or Unburial Rites. So you can imagine a card like Dark Slick Shores coming into play tapped always on turn 4 might have a little bit more downside than the River of Tears that, you know, occasionally you might not be able to cast Consider on turn 1, but is that even that much of a downside? Yeah, it's close. You know, it's really close, and I think you could make an argument either way, but we're deciding to go with River of Tears. And then one note here, we have one Sarah's Emissary in the main deck. I do enjoy playing one Emissary because there are a lot of decks that don't have outs to this game 1, notably Elementals. Well, I guess Elementals has Teferi, but it's good against Elementals, and it is lights out against Hammer Time. They literally do not have an answer to it game 1. So if you put this into play against Hammer Time, or maybe like Hardened Scale, some of the more fringe decks, the game's over. It's lights out. They don't have any main deck answers. Moving on to the sideboard, we have Flusterstorm to win Counter Wars, Spreading Seas, which is, I think, the best card that you can be playing against Urza Saga. Now, you are a deck that can, you know, have a fast Archon, but you can play a bit of a longer game. The only thing is it's really hard to play a longer game against Urza Saga, so you do need some sort of answer to it. I don't know if this is the best answer. I think this is better than something like Field of Ruin. But yes, we're going with Spreading Seas here as our sort of like answer to Urza Saga. I guess you could also play a Disenchant, but Spreading Seas replacing itself is pretty good. Leyline of the Void is our graveyard hate of choice. I think the initial build of this deck that I tried had Nihil Spellbomb. Wasn't a fan of it. Leyline just being a free spell, and it's really nice because you're playing Faithful Mending, so if you have additional copies in your hand, or you draw some down the road, you can just discard them to Faithful Mending, so it's not too bad. 2 copies of Fatal Push to deal with the Ragavan problem. 1 Terastodon for the Tron matchup, which I am a big fan of playing Terastodon in all of my Reanimator decks because I think your win percentage by playing 1 Terastodon your 75 goes up a considerable margin, and it only takes up 1 sideboard spot. Tron just can't beat this card on turn 3. If they don't have anything in play and you put a Terastodon into play, the game's over. 2 Chalice of the Void, which is mainly here for Cascade. As you can see, we have a lot of 1-drops. I saw Aspiring Spike playing with a version with 4 Chalice in the main deck and less 1-drops. I think that's a reasonable approach, but I prefer to play the 1-drops. Specifically, Thoughtseize, I think, is one of the more important cards in this deck, and I don't think giving up Thoughtseize is worth playing Chalice in the main deck, so we're going with this. And then 2 Explosives here for Ragavan, DRC, good against Hammer Time, good against Rhinos. Just, you know, versatile, overall, pretty good card. So, that is the deck list. I'm pretty excited. We got some more Innistrad cards. So, without further ado, I'll see you back here in just a little bit for round number 1. Alrighty, YouTube, round number 1. Let's go Esper Reanimator. Alright, we got Thoughtseize and Unmarked Grave and a Teferi. I think this hand's good enough. It's one of those turn 1 River of Tears hands. Doesn't look too bad. Let's see what our opponent's up to. Looks like they're on the mulligan. No companion, worth noting. We are free from lures this game. Doesn't happen very often, but we are free from the cat. Alright, opponent's on 6. River of Tears, Thoughtseize. Classic Fairies opening. So they're... Oh, okay, they're elementals, but they have monkey. That's why there's no companion. Ephemerate, Ending, Solitude, Omnath. I mean, I guess I just take the Solitude. And the rest of their hand's kind of nonsense, right? Could always just take the Omnath with the next one or something like that. But yeah, there's no Kahira because they have Monkey. Normally, Elementals decks will feature Kahira, which is a companion that allows you to reveal it as a companion if you have all of the same creature type. I think it's like there's Elementals and there's a bunch of other creature types, but they have Ragavan, that's why there's no Kahira. I think I'm just casting Unmarked Grave, so let's get a Hallowed Fountain. And then I get an island with this. It's just Unmarked Grave for Archon. And then if we find a Persist, we can go Thoughtseize plus Persist next turn. If not, I'll probably just play Teferi. Alright, Sacred Foundry. It's a land we didn't know about. Yeah, so let's just go... I actually kind of want to get a basic Swamp. Water Grave's fine. Because I could have tapped the River of Tears for blue and then played my land, but I think I'm down to get a Watery Grave. And I might just minus it. Might just minus it to get my guaranteed card out of it. Yeah, let's just minus it this turn. So I want to get my card. Because we know they have Prismatic Ending. So like I'm fine with this 2-for-1 trade. They might not even be able to cast Prismatic Ending because we know their third land was Cavern of Souls, but they did find a colored source. So now they're probably going to ending the Teferi. Then their hand is Omnath, Cavern, Ephemerate, and one unknown. So then we can maybe double Thoughtseize them, see what they're working with. Are they going to cast Ending? Looks like they are. Yeah, they are. Okay. Fine with that because again we got our card out of the deal, so it's not too bad. I'm gonna cast Consider first. So I want to try and find a Persist. Again, we know this is their hand. Persist? No, I would not like to put that in my graveyard. So let's go land for turn. Thoughtseize them. See what they drew. Alright, we'll take Omnath, and then I will cast Persist. So they'll probably discard the Utopia Sprawl and leave themselves with Cavern Ephemerate. It'd be pretty tough for them to get out of this, because, I mean, I guess they could draw Solitude and pitch the Ephemerate, but outside of drawing Solitude, this game should be probably wrapped up. It was pretty close to it. I guess they could draw Teferi and bounce it, but... let's go to attacks. They discarded the Sprawl, so they have Ephemerate, one unknown. Let's see what that is. I imagine they probably... Maybe they drew Solitude? Well, we're going to Thoughtseize them either way, so... They drew Ragavan. Alright, well I'm going to Thoughtseize them so that if they draw Solitude, they can't cast it, because they have to pitch a card. And let's just play Flooded Strain and pass. So now they should have no... I mean, I guess they could draw Teferi, but... Alright. Off it. Game number 2 against Elementals. Flusterstorm. Not particularly great because it really only fights over Ephemerate. I'm kind of not a fan of it. Spreading Seas, their mana is a little rough sometimes, but I still don't like Spreading Seas. Push no, Leyline no, Terrestrial. I honestly just don't even think I like any of these cards. I'm just going to take a quick look at a recent Elementals deck to see if they have any, like, sideboard counter spells that I might want Flusterstorm for. Let's just pull up a most recent Elementals list. Just curious. I think it was this one. Yeah, this is the more common version. They have 2 Force in their sideboard. I think Smidster is playing 4 Force, but... Even then, I have Teferi, I have Thoughtseize, I have Counterspell. I think Flusterstorm is not really where I want to be in a matchup like this. But yeah, I just don't really think any of these cards are that good. Explosives, Chalice, Terrastodon, Push, Leyline, Seize, Fluster. I'm just going to run it back. I don't really have a sideboard for this matchup. I don't think the matchup is that bad. But I don't really have any good cards. This hand is not good. It's a one-lander. But we do have Thoughtseize, Persist, and Unmarked Grave. Which is about as good as you could ask for a one-lander. I'm on the draw. I'm going to keep it. I don't want to go to 5. If I was on 7, I would ship this, but already on 6, I think this hand's a keep. See if they have turn 1 Ragavan. Seems like they do. That's a little bit scary for this hand, I will say. Turn 1 Ragavan is not what this hand wants to see. Okay, they have Sprawl. That's fine. That I can live with. Alright, we need to find a land. That's not a land. Let's get Watery Grave. Watery Grave, Thoughtseize you. What you working with? Endurance, Ephemerate, Omnath, Reef, and a land. I think I'm just going to take the Reef. I'm going to try and keep them off cards a little bit, because my hand's a little slow. And if I think even if I draw a land, I'm probably just going to Thoughtseize the Endurance next turn. Yeah, because if I cast Grave, they just get to Endurance me, so that's bad. I'm gonna Thoughtseize them. See what they do. They might play the Endurance in response. This would be really a disaster if they drew a second Endurance, but... So Omnath, Endurance, Ephemerate is their hand right now. They drew a land. Alright, I think I have to take the Endurance. And just kind of hope that they brick on the Omnath. I think that makes the most sense. And we'll get a Hallowed Fountain with this. As you can see, Counterspell not very good in this matchup because they have Cavern. They have Cavern and Teferi, so... Cavern of Soul, or excuse me, Counterspell is kind of not where you want to be. Alright, Ephemerate is their last card. Let's go Hallowed Fountain tapped. Prismatic Ending. Alright, I think we're kind of priced into just going for an Archon here and hoping they didn't find another Endurance. Just because we, missed on land. I guess my other line this game could have been take the Endurance, let them have Reef, and then take the Omnath. Or take the Endurance, let them have Reef, and just jam Unmarked Grave. And hope they just didn't find it, you know what I mean? That could have been my other line this game. I don't mind the way that I played it. It's fine. Okay, let's see if they found Endurance. I hope not. I hope they did not find Endurance. Let's go play the River of Tears first and leave up the Watery Grave, because I could draw Thoughtseize or Consider. That's why I don't want to have... I want to have access to both. Alright, they didn't have the Endurance. Step 1. They could have Solitude. We know they have Ephemerate in their hand. Would not mind drawing a third Thoughtseize here. Probably asking for a little bit too much, but... I wonder if there's something in my sideboard I want to bring in over Counterspell. Just like, maybe a couple Spreading Seas, and Engineered Explosives, perhaps? Or Fatal Push? Maybe, yeah, maybe I want to do that. Maybe next game I'm going to cut the Counterspells, bring in Push and Spreading Seas. I feel like if they were going to do this, they would have Ephemerated first to try and hit Endurance. Maybe they didn't have a green card. Alright, so they pitch the Ephemerate, or they cast the Ephemerate, discarded another Omnath. So they sacked Omnath, discarded Omnath. Do they have a third one in their hand? They might. The nice thing is if they Solitude me, I gain 5, so, I don't want to be Solituded, but if I am Solituded, it's not that bad. You buy a little bit more time. They can't Fury this. Well, I mean, they can cast Fury, but it's a 5/5, so. They found a land, so that might be Solitude mana. Oh, Teferi. Yeah, Teferi's kind of awkward, too. They dash Ragavan. Okay. See, Ragavan good in literally every deck. They found a Faithful Mending, which they can't cast. I don't think they'd want to anyways, because it puts it in my graveyard. Even if they could cast it, I don't think they'd want to. Alright, so we need to Mending into Persist. Is that where we're at? Yeah. Blue-white. I'm going to thin my deck first a little bit, but... that is not what we're looking for. I think I want these endings. I have to cast Consider before playing my land. Graveyard, no. A little late to the party, but, we'll take it. I think it's probably a little too far gone at this point, but we'll try. Because they get to untap with Arisen Reef and an Omnath and 6 cards in hand, so yeah, we're probably dead. I still kind of like the line I took this game. they can put another land into play, we're dead, because they get the third Omnath trigger. So if they have an elemental that puts a land into play off the reef, we die. In the reef. Okay. Cycle. This game's not over. Winnable. Winnable. Alright, shock, make some mana. Play an elemental, put a land into play. What's this? Yeah, they're just gonna go for it. Makes sense. I probably can't even beat the board anyways, even if they miss on land. So I go to 6. Alright, let's go Persist Archon. So I go to 6, they sack this. They can't minus the fairy. Oh, they just had force. Okay, you win. Okay. Game number 3. Do we want these counterspells to look really bad? So does Fatal Push, though. What if I brought in Flusterstorm? Because Flusterstorm is better at fighting. It's a lot better at fighting over specifically Force of Negation. And I think Spreading Seas is pretty good on the play, because like especially against Utopia Sprawl, it's like a double Stone Rain. If they get a Temple Garden and Sprawl it, it's... You turn their land into an island, which they usually can't use. I mean, they can sometimes, but you also just get to kill the Sprawl, so... Godless Shrine and a bunch of blue cards. I'm going to ship this. Yeah, see, this is what I'm talking about with the Triome. If this was just an untapped land, I would just be able to curve Thoughtseize into Grave plus Persist. But now I have to probably play a little bit slow. I mean, I'm probably still going to Grave on 2, and then if I find land, I can Thoughtseize Persist on 3. But I'm going to keep this and put back the Archon. I'm going to keep all these 4 in both lands. But yeah, this hand is so much better if this is just an untapped black source, like a fetch land. Which, I don't know, you know, there's definitely ups and downs to playing the 4th color for Prismatic Ending, and this is kind of the... This is the downside, of course. This is what I was talking about in the intro. Just kind of messes with your curve a little bit. Alright, they tanked a little bit, kept 7. Hallowed Fountain, huh? Alright, I am just going to get my own Hallowed Fountain. And I'm going to cast Unmarked Grave and hope to draw land. I'm not going to get Emissary in the post-board games. They usually have more answers to it. And I'd rather just... I think the Archon trigger is worth so much. That was a good draw. Alright, Thoughtseize you. What you got? So now if their hand is like Endurance and no backup... Force Pitch to Fairy. Okay, so I guess they can Endurance this. They have Flusterstorm? No. They force the Thoughtseize, though. And they pitch to Fairy, which means they probably have another Teferi. But that's fine, because we have Mending plus Persist, so we don't even care if they have Teferi. This is totally fine. Unless they find another Force. That would suck. Alright, so let's go Mystic Gate. Make blue-white. Cast Mending. Discard Archon, Spreading Seas, I think. And then just persist the Archon. They did not find a Force or an Endurance. Cool. Faithful Mending is so good. God. Especially when there's so many people playing Teferi, you know, they just bounce the Archon, you just have basically a free discard outlet. Oh, it's so good. Oh, it's so good. They have another Teferi. They have an Evoke Muldrifter. Don't think that's going to do it. They have 4 cards. They could have Solitude. I'm just going to go to attacks first and see what they do. No Solitude. I like to see that. 11. Discarded Force. Let's go Teferi and then Draw Step Thoughtseize them. Plus... And let's go pass, draw step, Thoughtseize you, because they clearly didn't draw an answer this turn. Or they don't have an answer already, so we can just take their answer if they drew it. And we have Teferi in play, which means they can't cast anything. I'll take Omnath. Guess I could have taken Reef. I don't know. Does it matter? I don't think it matters. Because they can't even Reef into anything, because they have 2 blue cards. Even if they Reef into Solitude, they can't pitch cast it. So, the game's over. Cool. That was kind of a beating. I mean, game 2, we kept a kind of a loose hand, or a weak hand. I think on 6, the keep was fine, and then game 3, we just kind of had the stone cold nuts. Even though we had a tap land. Didn't end up mattering too much, so 1-0. I'll see you back here in just a little bit for number 2. Alrighty, YouTube, round number 2. Let's go 1-0. Got a lot of 1-landers. 23 lands. A lot of 1-landers for a 23-land deck. Ship. Ship it. Alright, so this is our 6-card hand. I'm definitely keeping. I'm just trying to think of what I'm putting back and how I want to sequence. I think I want to put back Consider. And then I can just go nothing on 1, mending on 2, discard Archon. I feel like that makes the most sense. Alternatively, I could keep Consider and put back a land. Well, actually, no, I want to keep the Grave because I can go Mending on 2, discard Archon, Grave on 3 for Rights, and then Rights on 4. Let's just put back Consider, I think. I think that makes the most sense. I'm going to get a Hallowed Fountain on turn 1. Yeah, Hallowed Fountain on turn 1 makes sense. Alright, opponent goes to 6. See what we are up against. Tron, huh? Tron game 1's going to be rough, but we do have the Terastodons in the sideboard. New plan. I think... Yeah, I think this is my plan, because... man, this is tough. I'm going to ending this. In general, I think ending is, like, kind of not that great against Tron. But when you get to hit a Sphere or whatever 1-drop they play, basically, game 1, you just kind of have to try and, like, hope that you can keep them off Tron for long enough. So I think this play makes sense. They have a map. They have a map. I guess I'll get the Triumph, no reason not to. Okay, so now we can go land go. Counterspell does help a decent bit in this matchup, but without the Terastodon, it's kind of tough. Oh, they also have main deck Relic. Sheesh. Okay. Resolves. That is not good for us. It's not good. Not good. So we need to find another ending. I guess that was the reason to hold the ending, huh? So I think what I'm supposed to do is discard the Archon and the Mending, and then play Teferi Plus, and set up for a turn where I can go Bounce Relic, Grave plus Persist in the same turn. I think that's my plan. This might also bait them to pop the Relic because they want to get the Mendings, but they don't. Makes sense. Okay, so let's go Teferi Plus, play Tap Land. I think this is our one shot. Sure. Alright, tap land, go. So again, we're trying to set up bounce Teferi, bounce on Relic, and then so we need to find a persist basically. They got a Yavimaya. Very interesting. Okay. Persist. No persist. Okay, just go Teferi Plus pass. I think I'm going to end of turn the Mending from my graveyard. Trying to just set up Grave plus Persist in the same turn. I think that's the way I have to play this. I'm giving them a lot of time, which is really bad, but I don't really see an alternative. Alright, so let's flashback Mending. Okay, so let's discard these two. Let's go untap. It's a good draw if we don't get Tron next turn. But they might Tron us. I assume they just pop it. Yeah. So let's go Grave. I have 2 black sources. Yeah, okay. So black, this. Question is, do we get Emissary? And name Planeswalker? No, I think that's just too bad. I think that's just too bad. I think if we can dodge for 1 turn... Dodge, please. No tower, no tower, no tower, no tower. Hold. Okay, map is okay. Because that's not Tron this turn. And then we get to hold up Counterspell next turn. And I have Teferi plus Thoughtseize. Okay, we might actually win this game now. Alright, there's the tower. We might actually win this game now. Plus Tef. We have double Counterspell now? Ooh, boy. We're at 9. So let's go pass and draw step Thoughtseize. Off of basic Swamp. Get Swamp. Draw step Thoughtseize you. They have Wormcoil, Ugin, Karn, Karn. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They have 9 mana. 11 mana. I think I'm going to take Karn the Great Creator. And then I just have 2 counter spells. They can only play 1 spell this turn. So let's take Karn the Great Creator. And I don't even care about Wormcoil, because I can just bounce it. Because I still have Teferi in play. So they play the Mine. Whatever they play is going to get countered this turn, almost certainly. Yeah. So counterspell that. They only have 4 mana. I'm not even going to cast the Mending. There's kind of no reason to. Plus here. Attack for 8. They have to discard probably the Wormcoil. They're at 1. Let's cast Consider. Teferi, Graveyard, yes. And... so we can actually just go for lethal, right? We can Mending. I mean, I'm just going to pass, because I can just Mending on their turn. But yeah, we just counter Ugin and then we're good, right? Karn the Great Creator. That is fine. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, I guess I'll just counter what they get. I guess I could have just countered this, right? Yeah, why didn't I just counter this? That was dumb. I was thinking I wanted to just counter what they get, but... Like, I know they're last card Ugin, so it doesn't matter, right? Snaring Bridge. Alright, counterspell. Whew! Alrighty. Didn't think I was going to win that game. And the post-board matchup gets a little bit better. Spreading Seas and Terrasson are both quite good. Lusterstorm, no. Push, no. Chalice, no. Explosives, no. And I think Prismatic Ending is your worst card. But this is 1 short. So we either keep in an ending. What if we cut the Emissary and keep in 2 endings? I think I like that, actually. I don't mind keeping in some number of them as an out to bridge, so we can just, like, not have to fight over bridge. And Terrasodon's better than... Emissary is just your worst Reanimator threat by a lot. Like, you'd almost rather... You always get Terrasodon first, and if you have Archon, that's just better than naturally drawing Emissary, so... We'll do it like this. Alright, game number 2. Well, I got turn 2 Unmarked Grave, turn 3 Persist. And that means I think I'm going to keep it. No Tron hate specifically, but... Oh, that's not bad. Alright, I don't really want to draw lands, and I need a black source anyway, so I'm just going to get the Triome here. Okay, so they're going to cast Sylvan Scrying, probably off of a Tron land, because they kept 7, so they have a map. Oh, they kept the 1-lander? I like this. Now I don't even have to... Yeah, now I don't even have to play Spreading Seas. I can just... Yeah. I can just grave. I guess this is bad if they have land plus relic, but I think we're okay. All right, Doomwake wins the match. I guess they're just off it. Yeah, they kept 7, kept the 1 later. I don't know what was in their hand, but I think this matchup, maybe the more I think about it, maybe it's like better than I think it is because Counterspell is so good against them. It's just kind of awkward because you have to find a good window for it, and they just gave us a little bit too much time in game 1, and then game 2, they just, missed the land drop. So anyways, 2-0. I'll see you back here in just a little bit for round number 3. All right, YouTube, round number 3, 2-0. We got Thoughtseize, Mending, and a bunch of lands. Mending does help me filter through these lands. And I can go Godless Shrine into Island, Thoughtseize into Mending. I'm gonna try this hand. I know this hand's kind of, I don't know. This hand's a little loose, but I think it's okay. I'm gonna Delta. You have a Ragavan. This hand's pretty bad against Ragavan. DRC, okay. I'm much happier to see that than Ragavan. Okay, it's a good start. Still gonna get Godless Shrine. Thoughtseize you. Whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa. The big pig. The big pig. Channeler, Ilharg, Thoughtscour through the breach. I'm gonna take Thoughtscour. I'm a little scared, though. I'm a little scared. Channeler and Consider. Alright, so they have Ilharg through the breach. I'm a little scared. See if they get to Delirium here. They did not. They've been to land, which makes sense. Alright, let's go Island Pass. We do have Leyline of the Voids in our sideboard, so, there is that. At least we got some ley lines. We have Dash Ragavan. Again, Ilharg through the breach, unknown card. Go to 10. They hit Polluted Delta. Alright, so Ilharg through the breach is their hand. Plus Ragavan. Discard Archon, Trion. I guess I could have kept the Trion to cycle it. I probably should have done that. Yeah, I should have kept the Trion to cycle it. Although I'm just going to cast Mending anyways. What we got? Found a Thoughtseize. So I could take the Ragavan. Because we know that's... God, they could just also find a land and go Breach Ilharg. What does this thing do again? Whenever it attacks with a creature, the tap and attacking. So if they find a land, they can go Breach Ilharg, attack, put a Ragavan into play tapped and attacking. They wouldn't have Delirium, because they still only have instant land artifact. But that would be 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 damage. So I can fetch to 11, Mending up to 13, take 10, go to 3. And then the Ilharg would die, and then they get the Ragavan back. The problem with casting Thoughtseize is I'm not digging deeper. Like, I'm not getting closer towards a Persist. I think I just have to pass here. It feels bad, but I think I gotta pass. If they draw a land and they want to deal me 10 damage, I think I'm okay with that. Oh, you know what I just realized? They can hit Delirium off of this if they find a land. I just realized that. So maybe I should have cast Thoughtseize. They're not dashing Ragavan. Interesting. Did they find a counterspell? What's this? Oh, they're just going to hard cast Ilharg. Okay, I guess that makes sense. I'll buy that. I'll buy that. I'll buy that. I wonder why they just didn't go for lethal there. I feel like if I were them, I might have just cast Breach. Okay, so their hand is Through the Breach Ragavan. I don't think I want an additional Thoughtseize. Because we can just go Basic Swamp, Persist. We do have to hope they brick on an Emrakul. So let's go... Oh no, yeah, the Basic Swamp's in my hand. Okay, so let's go Basic Swamp, Persist. They're going to sacrifice Ragavan, or excuse me, sacrifice Channeler, probably discard Through the Breach. Yep. And then I'm going to Thoughtseize the Ragavan. And then hopefully they don't draw an Emrakul. And then we'll take 6. Please don't draw Emrakul, opponent. Pretty please. Alright, so block here, take 6. Go to 6. They could have found a Bolt, I guess. No, 2 Mike wins. Alright. Game number 1 against Grixis Breach. I guess, is Leyline even good? If they're Breach Ilharg, maybe Leyline's not good. They do have DRC, but... Flusterstorm. I kind of want Fatal Push because they have DRC Ragavan. Kind of don't mind Fatal Push. Could bring in Flusterstorm. Terraston, no. Emissary is kind of bad because... Well, the nice thing about Emissary is if you name creature, with Ilharg and Emrakul, they don't get the Emrakul Annihilator trigger. So you can just name creature and then just take it, but if you name creature, they can just heat it. So I think the Emissary is bad. I don't even know what else is bad. I kind of like all my cards. What if I just shave, like, a Thoughtseize? No. Shave a Consider on the draw. Just don't have time to dirtle around with all these cantrips. Spreading Seas, no. Terrastodon, no. EE Chalice, no. Leyline, I think we've decided because they're Through the Breaching, I don't really want Leyline. They might be Goryozing, in which case then maybe I should bring in Leyline. But I think I'm just going to keep it like this for now. Do some very light sideboarding, just kind of shore up the Ragavan DRC weakness a little bit with Fatal Push, and just kind of keep my deck mostly intact. If they show me Goryoz, then and we go to game 3, then maybe I'll bring in the Leylines, but for now it looks like just DRC. Even though with DRC and Ilharg, I feel like it's pretty likely they have Goryoz. Alright, Persist, Ending, Archon, Lands. This hand is good if we draw a Grave or a Mending, and we do have an answer to a turn 1 Ragavan, so I think I'm going to keep it. I wonder if they brought in Leyline. They might have. Alright, they mulled to 6. Serum Visions. Okay. Let's get our tapped Watery Grave here. They're going to Dash Monkey. They are... Man, Dash Monkey's so good against Prismatic Ending. Oh, man. Why does that card have Dash? I don't know. Oh my god, they found a Thoughtseize too. Jeez. Oh, that's bad. That's bad. Persist down. Persist down. They took the ending. Oh, okay. Kind of surprised at that. Okay. Let's just go Flooded Strand, pass. Keep up appearances a little bit. Maybe they'll play around Counterspell. I wonder why they took the ending. Maybe they just have a Graveyard Hate spell, and they just don't care about the Persist. Because they can just keep dashing the Ragavan. So like the ending doesn't really matter that much. But it would make sense if they had, you know, like a Relic, or... I guess they wouldn't play Relic, but... Nihil Spellbomb or something like that they wanted to protect. Okay. Let's get a Godless Shrine. Polluted Delta, huh? Let's play the Mystic Gate because they know about that one. Let's just ending this. Kind of sucks that we're not doing anything. We need to find a Mending. Mending would be so good. We needs a Mending. Thought Scour. Alright, there's the Gorios. So they do have Gorios in their deck. Which I guess I probably should have assumed that. Given the Ilharg and the Surveil triggers and all that stuff. So maybe I should have brought in Leylines in the Dark. Your Counterspell. Not great against Ragavan, but... let's go... Delta Pass. Need to find that Faithful Mending. And they know about, I think they know about 4 of our cards. They bobbled themselves. I know they know about these 3. I think they know about the Hallowed Fountain. Alright, so going to attacks. Take 2, go to 14. Oh god. That's rough. That's rough. Are they not casting it? Huh. Huh? Oh, I guess they know about the counterspell. Yeah, I mean, it would force the issue, right? Drew another Persists. Alright, we're just going to keep chilling. Because we got nothing else to do. Your turn. Bobble me. So they have 5 cards. Need one of them Faithful Mendings. Could even go Mending Persist with Counterspell backup at this point, because we just have a million mana. Blue-black. They're going to Gorios Ilharg, and then have a Counterspell. Alright, let's go blue-blue. Counter target spell. Okay. No blocks. And an unmarked grave. I would have liked to draw that. It's kind of funny that they hit unmarked grave against the, you know what I mean? They're playing a graveyard based deck. The thing is, a lot of their targets are legendary, like Ilharg and Gristlebrand and Emrakul, so they don't get much use out of unmarked grave. Okay, let's play Island first. Guys, consider. Graveyard, yes. Alright, let's cast another Consider. Graveyard, yes. Okay. Or Persist Flooded. Persist Flooded. Draw did not come together this game. Alright, you have an Ilharg. You have an Emrakul? I kind of assume they do at this point. Alright, we're dead. We're dead. Okay, so... is Chalice on 1 good against them? Like, better than some of my 1-drops? I mean, I kind of want these ley lines. The question is, what am I cutting? I wonder if Thoughtseize is just bad. Nah, they don't have their own Thoughtseizes. Maybe Teferi's bad? Kind of slow. Maybe just trim out another Consider. So the nice thing about this is, like... so, Leyline is kind of awkward, right? Because they have Ragavan plus Through the Breach to sort of get a sidestep it. So what you want to do when you bring in Leyline is you want to have more cards that are good against Ragavan. So that's why we have the pushes and the ending. So it's like, we Leyline to shut off their Gorios, and then we have push and ending to deal with Ragavan, and then Thoughtseize Counterspell to deal with Through the Breach. So I think all of this makes sense. Teferi is just kind of not that great. It didn't seem like they had that many counterspells. Persist, Counterspell, and a bunch of lands, huh? I think I'm going to mulligan. I think I got to be a little bit... mulligan a little bit more aggressively in this matchup. This hand is good. And I'm going to put back the second prismatic ending, I think. Let's do it like this. Alright, we got a ley line. Let's see if they have the Ragavan. I wanted to keep the second mending, because I can go mending, discard mending, and get some card advantage that way. Alright, they do have the Ragavan, so let's get a white source. So we can prismatic ending that thing. Done. Play our tap land, your turn. Does kind of suck if they have another Ragavan. Which they do. They always do. Okay, can't cast that. Blue Serum Visions. Okay. I'm going to main phase the Faithful Mending because I might hit a Thoughtseize. I think that makes sense. Or I could just hit a lands. That works too. Alright, your turn. Not the best. Not the best here. I feel like our draws just did not come together. Dash Ragavan, we go to 17. Consider, which they could cast. They could consider casting that. Yeah, as you can see, this is kind of why Leyline just kind of stinks against this again in this matchup. All right, we did draw Thoughtseize. That's good. We have two raw Ragavans. Is that the last Ragavans? No, it's okay. Well, I guess I'm just gonna take Breach then. I can't keep them off Ragavan anyways, so I'll just not take that. So their hand is Ragavan, Ragavan, Goryo's Ilhard, consider Faithless Salvaging. Alright, there's a consider. Bindin Emrakul. There's the Ragavan. So I'm just going to let this hit me, get a basic island. What do they got? They hit a Fatal Push. That would have been nice to draw. That would have been nice to draw. Alright, get an island. Mending, discard, Archon, Grave. So let's go Mending again to try and find Persist. Alright, there's Persist. So I gotta keep land plus Persist. Alright, winnable. Winnable. So their hand is Ragavan. I assume they're going to discard a second Ragavan, right? Yeah, that makes sense. So Ragavan, Ragavan, Ilharg Salvaging. It's not lethal. They go to 1. So that is worth noting. They're going to go Salvaging, discard, Emrakul. So Ragavan, Ragavan, Ilharg. And they're off it. Cool. So I guess, you know, our draw didn't really come together, but the ley line bought us enough time. And as you can see the power of Faithful Mending that game. You know, our hand was really bad, and we just cast, you know, 3 of these, and our hand was all of a sudden just a lot better. So, really powerful effect in this style of deck. 3-0. With that, I'll see you back here in just a little bit for round number 4. Alrighty, YouTube, round number 3. We're on the draw. I'm still going to mulligan this hand. Not gonna keep a 1 lander. Okay, I think I'm okay with this. Put back the second ending. Again, kind of awkward with this Triumph because I want to play Consider on turn 1, but I also kind of want to make sure I can curve out and play a 2 if I draw it. But we'll see what we're up against. Definitely not gonna mulligan this hand. Basic Island. That definitely makes me want to play Consider on turn 1, and then if I spike a... Yeah, because... If I spike an Archon, then I could just go for Persist on 2. If not, play Triumph on 2, Teferi on 3. Yeah, so let's just go basic Island Pass. I think I'm down with that. Living End. Okay. Alright. Well, we have Teferi. Teferi's good against Living End. If we have time for it, and if it resolves. We have 4 Leylands in our sideboard, so game 1 might be a little rough, but... I'm actually going to keep that, because then I can go Triumph plus... Yeah, Triumph plus Consider on 2. Yeah, well, you know... Game 1 might not be the best, but... You got some ley lines, and I mean, if this Teferi sticks and they don't have a Living End, maybe we're okay. But they probably do. Yeah. They probably do. It's a Shardless Agent. Main phase Outburst. Okay. Alright, that resolves. I mean, Archon still might be able to beat this board. Graveyard, yes. So I could Teferi bounce Waker. Then they go attack Tef, attack me for 8. I fetch her basic planes. Yeah, bounce Waker, basic planes 19, bounce Waker. They attack Tef for 3, attack me for 8, I go to 11. Then I go Swamp, Grave, Persist. They sack a Wraith. I go up to 14. I take 8, go to 6. Attack with Archon, go to 9. They sack this, and I'm at 9, and they have a 5/5. Okay, so technically works. Technically works if they don't have Force. They might have Force, but... Alright. Bounce your Waker. Hold. Hold. We gotta hold. I assume Teferi's dying, right? Yeah, okay. I guess there's some consideration to not casting Unmarked Grave and letting them know what we're playing, but, I mean, we definitely still have outs. That doesn't matter because we have a 5/5. Alright, so let's go basic Swamp. Cast Unmarked Grave. Oh, is it better to just get, maybe it's just better to get the Emissary and name creature? They're at 13. Problem with Emissary is it's only a 2-turn, it's a 3-turn clock because they're at 13 and the Emissary is a 6/6. This is tough. I'm trying to think if the Curator changes the math on this. So, if I get Archon, I go to 14, they sack a Wraith, right? Then they attack me with the Riverwinder and the Wraith. I can't block the Wraith. I don't want to trade for the Riverwinder. So 14, 8, down to 6. Attack with Archon up to 9. They then sacrifice... Yeah, that's actually lethal, right? Because they sacrifice a Wraith, and they have 9 in play. So the Archon just doesn't even beat the board. So I have to get Emissary, I think. Because the Archon just doesn't beat the board. This is all assuming they don't have Force, but, you know. Can't beat a Force anyways, so... Can't beat Force anyways. Yeah, Borrower. Also can't beat that. Alright, cool. We're dead. Couldn't beat much anyways. But we get to leyline them, so that's pretty good. And Chalice 2. Explosives no, Terracodon no, Push no, Flusterstorm, heck yeah. And so I have to cut 4 more cards. What if I don't want to cut 4 more cards? I'm actually not... No, I'm just going to cut Consider, I think. I got Mending. I like Teferi. I kind of want to keep Thoughtseize. Especially because they don't have that many answers to Leyline, so I just want to go, like, Leyline, Thoughtseize your answer, and just kind of shut the door. But, yeah, Leyline is really good. I just think Consider is, like... the card that you are allowed to board out the most. Like, if you look at our deck, like, what else do you want to cut? I want to keep in Counterspell. I want to keep in all my combo pieces. I like Mending to be able to find combo, find Chalice. Like, I think Thoughtseize is better than Consider. I think that's the only really card that you could even look at, but I think I like Thoughtseize more. Alright, game number 2. Playing against Living End. I don't have a lane line, but I do have a Thoughtseize, an Unmarked Grave, and a Persist. So I think I should probably keep this hand. Thoughtseize you, what you got? Cycle Street Wraith. Endurance, Fairy Macabre. Okay, then. I was not expecting this much graveyard hate. It's a lot. It's a lot. I mean, I'm going to take Fairy Macabre, because Endurance I can at least counterspell. Fairy Macabre is the one card that I can't really fight over, so... But I definitely don't plan on casting Unmarked Grave. Flooded Strand, go. At Spire Bluff Canal, they drew a Riverwinder. Scalding Tarn. So Endurance, Forest, Force. Question is, am I casting Mending? I think I'm going to. Because then I can just go discard Archon, discard land. And then if they don't Endurance me right now, I'm just going to hold up Counterspell. So, yeah, this is really good. Let's go Flooded Strand. So we can Counterspell if they go for Endurance. We can even go Persist plus Counterspell next turn. Alright, they have that. That's fine. So again, Endurance, Force, Forest. Played Misty. So Endurance, Force of Vigor, Forest, 2 unknowns. Do we think they have another green card? I think I'm still going to go for it and get the Triome. Oh no, because they can just go hard cast Endurance and then pitch cast the other one. Yeah, so that doesn't work. Right. What if I played Teferi this turn? If I play Teferi, they respond, play Endurance. My graveyard's gone. Then I can just pick up, bounce the Endurance. They main phase it. Next turn I go plus, and then have Grave plus Persist up. Yeah, that works. Okay. So let's go. I mean, it doesn't work if they drew... what you call it? Violent Outburst, because they just respond to Violent Outburst, but... I don't know if I can play around that, given that, like, I know their hand has 2 Endurances. Like, in order for me to play around Violent Outburst... it'd be kind of tough. I feel like this is my best line. Because now they can just go... Cycle Waker. So they're going to try and find Force. Okay. Did they find the Force? Would have to be their last 2 cards. Alright, so let's just go plus Tef for now. This is a good spot. Endurance, Force of Vigor, Forest. You know, it's kind of funny. We actually don't have a second Black Source. I have these stupid River of Tears. These stupid River of Tears. So we need to find a land. I'm still going to bounce the Endurance. Alright, any land will do. Oh, I shouldn't have bounced the Endurance. I'm an idiot. Yeah. Why did I bounce the Endurance? That was really dumb, because they're just going to sack it to Tef anyways. I don't know why I did that. I should not have bounced the Endurance. I don't think it matters too much. But... because now they can't cast Living End. They have to find, like, a bounce spell and a cascade spell. They need a lot, basically. But yeah, I definitely should not have minus the Tef there. I forgot they were just going to have to sack anyways. Minusing was so dumb. In my head, I wanted to minus to try and find a land, but I drew the land for the turn, so I didn't need that. Alright, they have a Grief. So their hand is 2 Endurances. They took Counterspell, which makes sense. In order for them to win this game, they have to find land, bounce spell, cascade spell. But We know their hand has 2 endurances, right? So they can't have that. So even if they petty... I guess they could petty theft the Archon. Keep the Def in play. But then what's their plan, you know? Let's go plus here. I think I'm just going to go Chalice on 0. Actually, I'm not going to play the Chalice. I might just want to discard it. What I'm going to do is I think I'm going to end of turn, or on their turn, like after they play the Endurance or something, Unmarked Grave for... what'd you call it? For Faithful Mending, and then Mending discard the Archon. So they're going to play Borrower. That's fine. Let's go Unmarked Grave for Faithful Mending. Let's cast Faithful Mending, discarding Archon and Leyline. Yes, they have 4 cards. This is a little dicey. Let's go plus Tef, I think. If I bounce Tef, they can have Endurance up, so that's kind of bad. So let's just go plus Tef. I guess I could play Chalice on 3. I think that's good, right? I think Chalice on 3 is good, because it shuts off Endurance. Let's try it. I'm down. Let's go for it. I don't know if this play is good, but we know they have 2 Endurances in hand, so I think this play's fine. So they attack Tef to 1. We do need to find some gas, though, because we are kind of all out of gas. It's not really gas. I could do another Chalice on 3. I could do a Chalice on 0. It's just kind of awkward. I'm trying to think of what I want to set this Chalice on. I could also just hold it to discard to Mending if I find Mending. I think I'm just going to hold it for now. Well, no, the problem with holding it is... yeah, I should play it on 0. Because if I hold it, they can just attack to Teferi. And if they have a land, they can just go... well, I guess I can still Flusterstorm the Cascade spell. Because it's Cascade... or Flusterstorm the Living End. Because it's Cascade spell, then Living End. And the Flusterstorm would be the 3rd spell. Even if they had a land, they would be Flusterstorm for 3, which they couldn't pay. So... blue, green... Curator. Okay. That's fine. Need to find some gasoline, persist, or unmarked grave, run burial rites. That works. So let's go black, blue. Let's get, where's the rights? There's the rights. Let's rights for Archon, white, this. And then if they have force, we have Flusterstorm. Again, they still can't Endurance because we have Chalice. And they're at 6. They discarded an Endurance. I'm going to hold on to the land, because I might want to discard it to Mending if I find Mending. Alright, your turn. And even if they have another Borrower at this point, I can just hardcast the Archon. Alright, I will go to combat. Go to combat. See what they do. Attack you. So they discard Curator. Alright, lethal damage. I think I messed that game up a little bit, but ended up working out in the end. I still think Consider is the one card I want to board out. I mean, again, I think all my cards are a little bit better than Consider. Flusterstorm, discard spell, counter spell, persist, grave, mending. Yeah, let's just run it back. That game was weird. I think I screwed up a little bit, but all right, game 3. Thoughtseize persist. No Leyline, no Chalice, no Teferi. I think this hand's bad. I'm gonna ship it. I'm not, like, aggressively mulliganing towards Leyline, but yeah, I mean, this hand's also bad. Like, I think these hands are just bad. Alright, I got a Leyline and a Chalice. And a Persist. I guess we just have to pray to God they don't have Force of Vigor. So let's keep Godless Shrine Mysticate, I think? Yeah, because we boarded up Consider anyways, so that's fine. Alright, Leyline you. I'm actually not going to play the Chalice yet either. No reason to. Because if they have Force, they might just fire it off now anyways. So. And I can always wait until the turn before they're about to play their Cascade spell. That's when you want a Chalice. So, like, I could do it here. Still bad against Force, though. I think it's worth it. Maybe it's not. I guess if they have, like, Force plus Borrower, I can play my land first to maybe represent Counterspell. Like, if I don't Chalice this turn, right, the issue with not Chalicing this turn is if they just have Force... Yeah, I'm bad against Force plus, like, Cycle into Living End either way. Playing against Living End's hard. It really is. Alright, now they can have Endurance. I think I'm probably not going to play around it. They have a lot of Endurances, but... much rather see a hardcast Force. Fairy Macabre. Alright, cool. Fairy Macabre resolves. Nice thing about Living In is their, like, Plan B beatdown plan is not actually that good. So, yeah, they usually give you a lot of time. So now they're going to hardcast Force? Is that what's happening? No. Okay, your turn. I should have played another Leyline there. Yeah, I should have played a Leyline. I guess keeping it in my hand is not bad if I draw Mending. So that's kind of why keeping it's good. But what's this? Blue-green. Foundation Breaker. Okay. Leyline down. Let's go Watery Grave. They have 3 cards. What about another Leyline? I'm going to hold the land, I think. Alright, force that, sure. Got it. They have 2 cards left. 2 cards, we still got a Chalice. Looking to find... probably Faithful Mending is our single best draw. Oh no. The 4-4. Not the 4-4. I mean, I guess we'll lose to a 4-4 if we just break off. Guess we'll lose to a 4-4 if we just break off. So I can Unmarked Grave for... Faithful Mending? Is that good? 3 cards. Could also hang on to it and try to get a fatty if I draw Persist. I don't have that many turns left. I have 4 turns. I think I can maybe afford to hold it for 1 turn. I'm just going to pass. I think I can maybe afford to hold it for 1 turn. Alright, cycle a bunch of Curators, which is very surprising. Oh, I guess they're just going to try and set up for... yeah, they're just going to try and set up for, like, kill the Chalice, play a Cascade spell. Makes sense. At 11. My turn. Druid Archon. Okay, well now we can just grave for Faithful Mending. Yeah, I'm just going to get Mending. Am I forcing this? Alright. Your turn. I guess it's Hardcast Archon time, huh? I guess it is Hardcast Archon time. We go to 7. Fetch to 6. We have to draw back-to-back lands. Yeah. Go. Man. That's a little frustrating. And they have the Cascade spell. Little frustrating. Alright, you win. I feel like this matchup should be very easy, you know, given that we have ley lines and chalices and counter spells and all this stuff, but our opponent's draw was pretty good, and we mulled to 5 that game, so. Anyways, 3-1. I'll see you back here in just a little bit for round number 5. Alright, YouTube, we're here for round number 5. Our opponent has revealed Kahira the Orphan Guard, and our hand is pretty good. Keep it. We got a turn 1 Thoughtseize, turn 2 Unmarked Grave, turn 3 Persist. I'm going to get a Watery Grave off of Flooded Strand, I think. Let's go Watery Grave, Thoughtseize, see what's going on over there. Teferi, Solitude, Ending. Alright, we'll take Solitude. So they have Teferi, Ending, and a bunch of lands. I'm okay with that. Probably just going to go for Unmarked Grave. Catcheria Triome, huh? Alright, they drew Chalice, which doesn't really matter all that much. Do I want to fetch? Nah, I don't think so. So let's go Grave for Archon. Pass the turn. So they have Teferi, Ending, 2 lands, and 1 unknown card. I think I might just jam Teferi first, because then I can go tap out for Teferi, be mana efficient, and then even if they counter it, next turn I can go Persist plus Counterspell if they draw another Counterspell. And also Teferi protects me a little bit better against Solitude, so kind of like that line. Alright, Field of Ruin. I accept. Let's go Hallowed Fountain, Teferi. I'm just going to plus, I think. I guess plus is worse against Ending. Let me just bounce the Chalice. Yeah, just bounce the Chalice. Because I want to get my card out of it, even if they Ending it. But now, if they spend their turn casting Ending, I think that's fine. They hit my Black Source, so we'll get a Swamp. Their deck usually doesn't play Force, and we have Persist plus Counterspell anyways, so. Worst case scenario would be top deck Rest in Peace, I guess. But, alright, Flooded Strand Ending. So they have Hero and some unknowns. Let's go Delta and cast Persist. See what they would like to do about that. Looks like they're letting it resolve. That's good. So they might just tap out for Teferi next turn, but we have Counterspell to cover that, so don't mind this. If they... Okay, I'm just going to pass. I was going to say if they end step, like, pitch cast Solitude, I don't know why they would do that, but... But I think I wouldn't fight over the Solitude, because I'm more... I want to fight over Teferi and not Solitude, basically. They discarded Chalice. What's this? Teferi. Think I have to fight over this. Even though they probably have a counterspell. They don't have a counterspell. Alright. Let's go attack you. They have 2 cards. One's a hero, so they're going to obviously keep the hero. True, another Archon. It's not the best. Let's go Flooded Strand and pass. So they're going to tuck the Archon, we'll shuffle it away, and then we just need to find a Grave or Mending. Let's go Zagoth Triome. Found a River of Tears. Not quite there. Can't Ending for 5, we can only Ending for 4. Right, pass the turn. It's possible I should have let the Raveler resolve. Yeah, I probably should have let the Raveler resolve, let my Archon get bounced, ending the Raveler, and then still have Counterspell up for Hero. That probably would have been a little bit better. Because now I just put myself in this awkward position. Because I can't, I could ending the Raveler, but I can't ending the Hero. So. What's this? Nothing. Your turn. Not looking great. Not looking great. We have a Shark Typhoon. Okay. This could be better. Yeah, this would have ended up working out a lot better if I had just let the Raveler resolve. Chalice on 2. That doesn't matter because we have ending, but... Alright, let's go ending the Chalice. Actually, yeah, that's fine. Ending the Chalice. Done. See if they fight over this. They may or may not. They do. Alright, your turn. 2, 4, 7 mana. Can't quite cast Archon. Not that I think Archon would resolve anyways, but... Kahira. Casting Kahira? Okay. Take 3. Accept. Somehow draw land and hope they don't have a bunch of counter spells. Or we draw a card that doesn't do anything. This is not going well. Going well. Take 6. 5. Do that. Give me a land. What are the odds this works? 0, right? Actual 0? Oh, we got a chance. I'm at 6. We got a chance. We got a chance. I can tuck the Archon, but we have another one, so... You know, we got a chance. We got a chance. Don't call it a comeback. Oh, they just didn't have a counterspell. I'm surprised. Because obviously, if they had a counterspell, they would have just cast it and killed me. What's this? Memory Deluge. So they get to look at the top 4, and they get 2 of them, and they can flashback this for 7, which when they flash it back for 7, they get to look at the top 7 and put 2 of them in their hand. What do we got now? Raveler. Bounce the Archon plus this hold up counterspell? Is that what's going on? That's kind of what I assume is happening. Alright, so I go to 3. We'll replay the Archon. Got nothing else to do. No, they have a counterspell. Alright, we're dead. We're dead. Game number 2. Alright, against Control, we're bringing in Flusterstorm. I think we said that was it, right? Just bring in Flusterstorm, cut the Emissary, trim, and ending. I think that's what we did. And all this stuff makes sense. I could bring in Explosives to blow up Chalice, but I think 3 ending, 3 Teferi, and then Fonties plus Counterspell. I think that's fine. We'll go with this. Alright, on the play for game 2. Unmarked Grave, Archon of Cruelty, Flusterstorm, and a bunch of lands. This hand seems kind of bad. What's this hand good against? Not much. I mean, I can Unmarked Grave for Faithful Mending, I guess. And then Mending, discard the Archon. Yeah, I mean, this hand's slow, but I think I'm down to keep it. Flusterstorm is just one of the best cards in the matchup. So I think I like this hand. Hallowed Fountain go. Let's go Unmarked Grave for Faithful Mending. Your turn. So now the Chalice on 1, it's kind of fine. We don't care too much about that. Rest in Peace would have been bad, but I don't think there's much we can do about that. Alright, Mystic Gate go. Hold up Mending. And then if we find a Persist, we can actually go Persist plus Flusterstorm. So that should be good. Now they find the Rest in Peace. Well, that's bad. Gotta cast the Mending. Discard Consider because they have a Chalice, and I think I'm just gonna discard. So best case scenario, I draw a Prismatic Ending to answer the Chalice, and then I can go Prismatic Ending the Chalice, play Unmarked Grave for another Mending. So I kind of want to keep the Grave. So let's discard the River of Tears. I think I'm fine with that. Fortunately, you can't Flusterstorm or Rest in Peace. Or we did draw the Ending, so that's good. So let's go Plains. Ending the Rest in Peace. I should probably tap blue-white for that. Yeah, let's go Ending the Rest in Peace. See if they want to fight over this. And let's Grave for another Mending. Alright, your turn. So now we can go Flashback Mending, discard Archon, again trying to find a Persist or an Unburial Rites. I could have also chosen to not cast the Unmarked Grave and pass, but I think I like this. Okay. Teferi is fine. Alright, there's a Persist. So we're just going to go for it. With Fetch. I hope they don't have a Flusterstorm. Alright, so let's go blue-white, this. Cast Faithful Mending. Discard Archon, and I think land. And please no Flusterstorm. Please no Flusterstorm. I had Force. Okay. I think these control decks don't usually play Force, but not much I can do about it. That was a really good draw. Because now I can bait with Teferi, and then I can Persist. Because they have to fight over Teferi. So they need 2 more counter spells. Just let it go. Alright, well, now we can Persist. So that resolves. Teferi is gone. And we can decide if we want to... I'm just going to plus, I think. Yeah, let's just plus. Plus is worse against Ending, but... So they got a Shark Typhoon. Yeah, that's kind of why I wanted to plus 2. Because if they go Shark Typhoon, untap, answer my Archon, I wanted to keep my Teferi in play. Which is exactly what they did. So that's kind of why I wanted to do it this way. Now if I draw a Grave, should be good to go. Teferi's at 2. Draw an Archon. Doesn't quite get us there. So we'll just plus this, pass. Doesn't quite get us there. And now we're kind of in an awkward spot because they get to kill Teferi. Oh god, they should Rest in Peace too? Oh man. That's gross. Alright. Yeah, Kahira. Alright, I guess we have to hope that Hardcast Archon gets us there. So we're not doing anything else. Take 6. Go to 23. I'm gonna not fetch just to... because I actually kind of want to draw lands. I wonder if they drew the Rest in Peace that turn or if they had it the turn before. I guess it would make sense for them to have it the turn before because they needed to play Solitude that turn, so... They didn't necessarily draw it that turn. It could have drawn it the turn before. Oh. Okay. Not much you can do about that. Alright, your turn. Not much you can do about that. That's what we call good beats. Alright, I've seen enough. I have seen enough. Our draw steps were a little bit better than ours. Anyways, not the Rhinos deck. Esper Reanimator, 3 and 2. We started off pretty well. A bit of an unfortunate ending there. No pun intended. Deck felt pretty good. I think we kind of got pretty unlucky in the last 2 matches, so, you know, I think we can kind of just kind of write that off to variance a little bit. I mean, you know, I may have sideboarded incorrectly against Living End. You know, obviously I mulled the 5 that game against Living End too. But overall, I was a pretty big fan of this deck. I like a lot of what's going on. Faithful Mending is really good. Very big fan of that card. Wasn't really that impressed with Consider. I could see maybe the Aspiring Spike version trying out... Because, like, if Consider's not great, then you're just playing Thoughtseize as your 1-drop, and then it's like Thoughtseize versus Chalice. You know, where do you want to go there? But for the most part, I liked most of what's going on here, so I would... definitely recommend this deck if you're enjoying the Reanimator stuff. If you made it a little bit to the end of the video, be sure to hit the like and subscribe button, and I will see you in the next one.